guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I wanted to talk about my hiring process and becoming a first year teacher. So let's just get you some backstory really quick. I went to University of Southern Mississippi. Go Eagles. There I did my introduction all the way through my student teaching, and I did the TAP program. So University of Southern Mississippi offers the TAP program, which is Teacher Assistant Prep. And basically, if you're an existing teacher assistant, you can do your classes online while still being a teacher assistant. You don't have to go to like face-to-face classes or anything like that. And then when you do your student teaching, you still can get paid while you're a teacher assistant / student teaching. So I wasn't a teacher assistant at the time. I was just subbing around, and I knew that I needed to have income coming in, and I know I couldn't like wait tables or anything like that because I'm married and I have small kids, and all that stuff played a part of, you know, my decision to do the teacher assistant program or prep or whatever. So I ended up enrolling in that, did my classes online all the way through my student teaching. Now what happened was I did move schools when it was time for me to student teach, so I did get that traditional style of student teaching, but I was still labeled a teacher assistant. So I ended up having to get hired to be a teacher assistant, and then I had to like do the student teaching stuff. So there's a video that's gonna come out for that, and just in particular to that, and so that way you can watch it if you're in that type of program, or if you're interested in those types of programs. Make sure you ask your college if you still want to get paid, or if you're working existing, or if you're working, you know, you want to make sure that your income is still coming in and you don't have time, or if you have small kids or whatever, you can't sit in the face-to-face classroom, you can do those. As a teacher assistant, I was exposed to a lot of things that I don't think as a traditional student would be if they were doing the face-to-face. So, you know, I was grateful for that. But then you have your downsides. You don't have that interaction with your peers like you would in a face-to-face traditional classroom. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward to past student teaching, or during student teaching, I ended up looking for a job. That's what people do whenever they're student teaching. They're looking for a job. They're doing job fairs. They're getting their resume out there. But in my situation, my husband and I have decided to move to Florida, which is about 500 and something miles away from where we were living. So my situation was a little different with the hiring process and getting started. So I want to talk about that really quick. Student teaching was January-ish. I started calling the people in Florida because they were reciprocity with Mississippi. So that means my certification, I don't have to take any other tests. So, you know, you could say, well, why don't you just do Florida's test and all that? I was already in the loops. I had already did some practice tests with the praxis. They did not take the praxis, so I just decided to just do what I knew and just went with the praxis and the Mississippi route. So it was just easier for me. So I ended up taking all my tests, and I'm calling. I'm in cahoots with this lady in Florida, the personnel person, and she's like helping me out, making sure I got everything that I need to, you know, have, and what I need to know before I even move. And I told her that I was going to Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, in April during our spring break. So I still had the spring break as the students. You know, when you student teach, you still have you get their spring break. So I was able to go to Florida, and upon leaving, she reassured me that, you know, I can't get an interview right now. They couldn't officially hire me because I didn't have a degree or anything like that. So my plan was just to pass out my resumes to different schools, you know, while I was down there, put a face with a name type thing, because school is still going on. You know, they're not even hiring at this time. So that was that. But when the week before I was supposed to go, I talked to the lady again, and she was like, well, I'm gonna pass out your resumes to people. And she looked over my resume for me, you know, because she's like the director. She hires the principals. So she like looked over my resume for me, making sure that everything was good. I mean, she was so helpful. I thank God for that lady. Like, she was so helpful. And so, long story short, before I was about to leave, mind you, now I was just gonna pass out my resumes. I wasn't expecting an interview. I wasn't expecting to even, you know, sit down and talk to anybody. I just passing out my resumes, you know, maybe greet the principal or something like that. So that Thursday, I get an email saying, hey, I heard that you're gonna be in town this week coming up, I want to interview you. Then I get a call, 2 calls in the same day, like the following day, and they all want interviews. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that lady must have sent in my information. That's why it's so important to talk to people. Don't be afraid to call, you know, maybe you need to talk to the superintendent, because I wasn't even supposed to be talking to that main lady. What happened was I was calling, but nobody never returned my calls. Like her assistants never returned my call. So the operator just transferred her to me one day, or me to her one day, and that's how I was able to talk to her. And that was my person. She gave me her direct line, you know, her email and everything. So it was just a divine plan. I'm just gonna put it like that. It was a divine plan. So I get down there, I go through the interviews. You know, all the interviews were great. First and second interview was great. You know, gives you kind of a little momentum. The third interview is the school that I really wanted to be at. I had researched the schools. That's one thing you want to do. Research the schools, go to their Facebook pages, and, you know, because you want to interview the schools too. You don't want to just be like, well, I want a job anywhere. No, I was kind of particular, but not really. I only had 3 choices at the time. So out of the 3, 2 stood out. One was a little far away from me, and that's the only reason why I didn't want to do that one. That was my first interview, which I was glad, because it gave me some practice. Even though I gave it my all. Every interview you go to, you want to give it to your all. You don't want to just slack up because you are not interested in that school. Give it your all, just in case. You know, you never know what's gonna happen. So that's what I did. I gave it my all. And then the third interview, I came in so confident, like, man, I already know what kind of types of questions they're gonna ask me. I'm ready. I'm super excited. And I always give a piece of me. I don't want to sound like a book or a website or something. You know, I don't want generic answers to my interview questions. I want to be as authentic as possible. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on my words. I'm so hot in here, gosh. But anyways, I wanted to be very authentic. So we get to the interview, and she's talking about like diversity in her school. She's talking about, you know, what I can offer, what my small groups will look like, what my reading block will look like. So you kind of have to have an idea of what you want it to be, because they're used to interviewing teachers that have already been teaching. So you come in there, you're, I don't know, you know, that's not the question. That's not the answer you need to have. You can be honest and be like, well, I don't have that type of experience. You know, I hope to do it like this, or I hope my mentor teacher, you can always say my mentor teacher or whatever. That kind of saved me a little bit. My mentor teacher did this, and my mentor teacher did that, and I helped do this and that. So that was good. Anyways, she ended up giving me the job, like offering me the job at the interview. Now, I was like, what in the world? God, you're up to something. Because first of all, I was just coming down here to give my resume, and I ended up getting interviews, and then I ended up getting a job. Like, who would have thought that I would have got a job? And, you know, 2 weeks before I went, who would have thought that I would be getting a job there? Now, she told me that we were going to be like negotiating the grade level, because she had so many positions open, because teachers were moving around, not because they were quitting, but they were moving around. And so she had some places, and some people, it's a military community, so a lot of people were getting deported. Not deported, is that deported? Deployed. So she told me that she had 3rd grade position. She might have some 6th grade, 1st, kindergarten, all this. My hopes was to get a 3rd grade position, because that's what was on the website when I went on there. She had a 3rd grade position. So I leave out an interview. Now, she didn't say welcome to OVE, or, you know, the school, whatever. She didn't say that. She just said, what did she say? She said, you'll be a great fit. And I'm like, well, does that mean like, so I asked her, do I need to pass out my resume to other people? Because, you know, because we're trying to like be cordial at the same time, because the lady had already told me that they couldn't officially hire me. And so she was trying not to make it like I'm hired, but kind of like I'm interested at the same time. So she was like, I'm not telling you not to pass your resumes out, but I'm telling you, if you want a position here, you'll be a great fit, and we'll be happy to have you. And then that was it. Like, she didn't have to say nothing else. Like, I knew from that point on that I ended up getting a job. And the interview, I mean, when I tell you, you have to be yourself during your interview. Don't be just so uptight that you can't breathe. No, don't do that. Just be like yourself. So that way, I mean, I was in there talking about our childhood and all different types of things like that. I even talked about my brother, his challenges in school, and how I want to be the teacher that help him, like help a person like him, you know, in the future, you know, different things like that. I gave her me, and that's what you want to do in an interview. Give her yourself, not a book, not a website. Anyways, graduate a few weeks later. After that, I'm in Mississippi, you know, going through the process of getting my license and everything with them, because like I said, Florida is reciprocity, and their school goes together. Well, not the school, but the Department of Ed and Mississippi Department of Ed is reciprocity. So anyways, I ended up doing that, and she gave me an email, and she's like, well, I have a kindergarten position open for you. I know you want a 3rd grade, but I think you'll be a great fit for kindergarten. And so I told her, like, straight up, you know, if that's all you have, I'll take it, but I really want 3rd grade and this and that. She said, well, you know, we were just going back and forth. She was very nice. I slept on it for a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm student teaching in kindergarten. I already know the content. I'm familiar with the age group. Let's just do it. It's my 1st year, you know, let's just. So I emailed her back, and I told her that I'd take the kindergarten position. Through her email, I could tell that the lady was super excited about it. I mean, she made me feel kind of warm and fuzzy, like I did the right thing, and I made the right choice. So that's why I'm just like, I'm loving the school already, and I really haven't even really was able to mingle with people. I'm from another state, and then just everything was just so overwhelming. But when I took a step back, the people really were helpful, you know, from the top person all the way down to, you know, just the regular teachers. They were so helpful. Like, they called me when I got to Florida. That lead teacher texted me and was like, or emailed me, and she was like, hey, we're gonna be planning, it's gonna be a great year, we're super excited to have you. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what teaching is about, you know, collaborating with people and just being all in that, you know, in that same bubble. And I'm just super excited about it. And yeah, so that is my teaching hiring process. Now I'm still in the works with making sure that all my license stuff is like going through right now, and I think that's the last thing I have to worry about. But I will get my keys in a few weeks. You know, super excited to show you guys my classroom, my prepping, my everything. Guys, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It means the world to me. I'm super excited to be here. So let's just be friends, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.